Behind every successful endeavor in life is a relationship built on trust. Welcome to The Trust Doctor, restoring trust and enriching significant relationships. A podcast focused on helping you nurture healthy relationships. Join thought leader and world-renowned expert on relationship and empowerment coaching, Dr. Patty Ann, and her special guests every week for insightful and meaningful conversations filled with great takeaways that will help you build healthier business partnerships and happier romantic relationships. Are you ready to restore trust and enrich the significant relationships in your life? The Trust Doctor, Dr. Patty Ann, is in.
Welcome to today's podcast episode of The Trust Doctor, restoring trust and enriching significant relationships. And honestly, I could not be more excited to have our guest on today. But before I share any information with you about her, since I know you're going to love this episode, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to the podcast. So today, we have a woman guest who, when they say you should never be the smartest person in the room, well, when you see this woman in the room, you can rest assured that you are not the smartest person in the room, because Lee is. Lee Richter is an award-winning global leader, visionary, and thought leader, recognized for being not only San Francisco. I mean, her bio says San Francisco, but I can say international top 100 women business leaders for 7 years in a row. That's not luck. That is genius. You can look her up. I just want to dive into this. So folks, put on your seatbelt because Lee Richter is going to take us for a ride. Lee, welcome, and thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast today.
It is my delight, and thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And I'll say, Dr. Patty Ann, when you're in the room, we're all paying attention because we know how brilliant you are and genius in your zone of relationships. So I love that you're bringing this up because honestly, we all have a relationship with money as well. And crypto and NFTs are just a version of that. So we get to talk about this new relationship.
All right. So this is one of the reasons I just got goosebumps that Lee said that, because this is why Lee and I resonate, are in such synergy in the universe. Lee knows that I talk a lot about women and their relationship to money and people and their money personality. Lee, as everything that she does, has taken money and investments into a whole new level. So Lee, share your wisdom with us. Start wherever you can. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe a year ago at this point, I was on one of the first Genius Network calls I think it was the first call where you started to talk about cryptos and NFTs, and I just don't know. Yeah. So please, I'm going to wait.
It was September 2021.
Okay.
And it was a Genius Network meeting for the September meeting. And I was actually leading the meeting that time. And so I got to pick a topic around a fireside chat. And I had Jason up there with me, and he and I would just ask questions. And then
Jason Campbell, another brilliant Genius Network member.
I love Jason Campbell, and he passed the torch for me. He ran the meeting the month before. And so I included him in our meeting in September because I just loved his style and how he shares and how brilliant he is. I always feel so inspired by him. And so we had a fireside chat. We booked 45 minutes, and all we did was talk about why pay attention to NFTs and what makes us inspired to pay attention to cryptocurrencies. And in that 45-minute chat, what happened was all these different entrepreneurs came back to me either that night or the next day or a day after and said how inspired they were. A lot of them opened a wallet for the first time. Our friend BJ Fogg, who, is an incredible action taker, one step at a time. He took his first step that day and he opened a wallet and he started in his crypto journey. We had a friend, Scott Donnell, who started with an idea for a coin to encourage kids to be more fiscally responsible. And he figured out a way to reward kids when they have great behavior around saving money, earning money, sharing money, donating money. So he created a pathway. And in that day, he realized he could reward them in coins and he could have a gamified piece of it for his audience. And now it's this
Scott Donner did that?
Yes, he's already doing it. He hired
I
people.
didn't know that.
Yeah, all of it, is
guest.
amazing. It just blossomed in that meeting. And what
All right,
happened?
so Lee, let me stop you, because see, listeners can already tell Lee is off to the races. So for the newbies that are listening, what's the first step? They might have heard, well, I wouldn't say they've never heard of crypto. They'd have to be under a rock, right?
Right. But right now it is in a lot of headlines for sure.
But what's the first step? Somebody wants to take action. So what's the first piece of information you can share? Go ask.
Right now, what I would recommend to people is to go to my Instagram on Global Leaders Collective and start at the beginning, which is really
Global Leaders Selective. Instagram.
Global Leaders Collective.
Okay. I want to make sure people have the right name.
Yeah. So if they go on Instagram, Global Leaders Collective, I've done a whole bunch of education there on what to pay attention to in cryptocurrencies, what is a blockchain, how to purchase an NFT, what is an NFT. But I think today we should talk about NFTs. NFTs are a version of doing business with people on the blockchain. So in other words, you can create an NFT out of a piece of art, out of a poem, out of music. And not only can they buy the art, not only can someone purchase it or you sell it or you purchase it, but also behind it, you can build in bonuses. Like they have a thing called a smart contract. And in the smart contract, you could build in future bonuses or bonuses to be with you. So in other words, like let's take Joe Polish, who has the Genius Network. Let's take him, for example. Right now he has a membership. And we join and we pay an annual fee for that membership. Mm-hmm. Now he can say, well, I'm going to sell 10 NFTs. And for those NFTs, not only do you get the membership, but you get a bonus lunch with me. And when you come to Arizona, I'm going to have an NFT luncheon and you guys who have them will get that bonus with me. So what we get is either VIP access or advanced access or exclusive access. So anyone who creates an NFT can build things in the contract that give the person who buys it a bonus. I'll give you another example. Last year, Gary Vaynerchuk, who happens to be very famous in the NFT space because he's an early adopter, he launched just over 10,000 NFTs in a campaign that he calls Gary V Friends, right? So it's the V Friends. And in his V Friends, he sold $90 million worth of NFTs. And people are like, why did people spend so much money on those NFTs? Well, for example, one of them is called Empathy Elephant. And Empathy Elephant is named after one of his wines. And he took like a hand-drawn picture of an elephant that looks like his label. And he sold it. And it went on auction for $411,000. And people are like, why would anyone spend $411,000 for this piece of digital art? Well, it's more than the art, because what he built in the contract was for 3 years, whoever came to his events could have front row access and have access to him. Now, somebody who wants to be in his sphere, maybe wants to talk to him about doing a project together, collaborating, or is just a big fan and wants to celebrate and support him. Now those people have access to him through their NFT. They could use it for all 3 years, but they also have the option in year 2 to sell it to someone else. And so you have the option.
That's brilliant.
To use it over for yourself or to share it with the next person or sell it for a profit or just giving someone else access. So the beauty is Gary Vee gets paid every single time. If he built in the smart contract that if it's resold, he gets another 10%, he now gets paid on the second sale as well. And this is why it's so big for artists and musicians is a lot of times they get paid the first time when they sell their art or they sell something, but they might not be paid subsequent times. In this case, they could build it in to the contract to be paid every time there's a transaction with that contract. So now it gives a different playing field for the people who are artists and creators.
So Lee, I have to ask you, because I'm thinking of how many people would love to have access to you. So do you have an NFT that you're selling that gives somebody access to you?
You are so smart in asking that question. And actually I have a waiting list for it right now because we've sold out of our NFTs.
Of course.
However, you could go to goasklee.com. Goasklee.com. And
this is Lee's second Instagram. Are you guys keeping up with how fast this woman works?
This is actually a website and an Instagram, but the Instagram is my personal one generally. However, I've noticed my team has been posting a lot around NFTs because people ask so many questions about it. Here, goasklee.com is my website. And on there's a way to learn more about NFTs. There's an entry-level NFT course to help people get started. My team and I have created videos to walk them through step by step how to open a wallet, how to get your name on the internet, because you can get your name.eth, which Ethereum is one of the ways to trade NFTs. And so it's useful. Like I have leerichter.eth, leerichter.eth. When you go in OpenSea to look at any of the art, OpenSea is one of the platforms that sells NFTs. When you go there, if you put in leerichter.eth, my collection will come up. Some of them I own that I bought, some of them I've been awarded or won, and some of them I've created and sold. I actually sold a couple of them this morning, and we made one for Anna David recently, which is a good friend of ours. So when you go in there, you'll see Anna's in the Global Leaders Collective.
That is so exciting. All right. So and now what? What's the next thing? Where is this taking us? Why does the world need this?
So it's interesting. I think what's happening is we call this Web 3.0. And if you look back at Web 1.0, the beginning, it was when corporations and people made websites, and it was one-way transactions, one-way conversations. They put out content, we consumed it, and that was it. Then Web 2.0 came out, and that was a big deal because things like Facebook and different platforms came out where we as the participants are the creators. However, they own the platform and they also own the IP. And what's happened along the way is we've realized how much information we've given away for free. We've given our identity, our background, our pictures, our videos. And a lot of people are saying, I really want to own my own content. So now with Web 3.0, the creators own the content and it's decentralized, and you get to choose which metaverse and which areas you want to participate. However, everything that's out there on the blockchain, everything that's out there as a transaction lives there forever. It is a whole different way of doing transactions because it's not only transparent, it cannot be undone. Once it's there, it's a defined transaction. And that helps a lot of things like consumers be able to trade even like the title of a car. Now, if I have it in my wallet, you could see I own that car. The same thing about colleges are going to be giving their degrees. Like UC San Diego said, all of their degrees for their students here forward are going to be in NFT.
Is that right?
If you're hiring someone, you could go in their wallet, see their degree and know it's real because it's issued by UC San Diego. It's not just a made up thing anymore. It's verified and it's valid and you can see it. So I actually just did 3 courses. We did a blockchain course, a smart contract course, and an NFT course through the Blockchain Council. They sent us the graduate certificates. Our team is turning them into NFTs. So now it's in the wallet and proves we finished those courses and got certified in those courses. So it's something that's going to help education be more transparent. Trading cars, trading real estate, all of those things are happening already. And we're just catching up. What I think.
So how does it work in real estate? Because if I own my house and sell it, you can only have one person own the house at a time.
Generally, but you can actually own the NFT. And in that you could say, I'll break it up into 12 months and I use it 11 months and somebody else who gets the NFT can use it the month of November. You can do fractional ownership with anything, including your own house. Almost like a timeshare, but you can say you buy this NFT, you get my house in Connecticut for the month of February or July or whatever it is. I have a place in Maui. I could sell NFTs by the night if I want to, use for July 11th, 2022. And if someone buys it, they get to use it. It's up to us to decide. And it's up to somebody to want to buy it and see the value.
Okay. So you mentioned wallet. So talk us through a wallet. So we think of a wallet, a regular wallet. You open it up, you have your credit cards, you have your money, if people are still using money, your driver's license, right? And if you're a woman, God knows what else is in that wallet.
Right.
So what's the NFT wallet? What's that look like?
There's 2. There's one that's going to be your cryptocurrency where you actually go and purchase either Bitcoin or Solana or Ethereum. Now, right now, most of the NFT transactions it's almost every transaction I've done has been with Ethereum. However, there's other currencies as well. You know, there's Solana, there's Wax, there's different ones. We've used those as well, but generally we use Ethereum. So the first thing you're going to do is maybe go to Coinbase or wherever you have your cryptocurrency, and that's where you would purchase Ethereum. Now I go into the NFT marketplace through a company called OpenSea. Now, OpenSea did $5 billion worth of transactions in January 2022 in 1 month.
Wait, just January?
Just January, they did $5 billion, and they became a marketplace in 2017. So that's really in 5 years now they're doing that. That could annualize over $60 billion this year. They did 5 billion just in January. Now, a lot of those are trading NFTs that are really valuable, right? Some of them are called Bored Apes, and some of them are called CryptoPunks. A lot of those are trading in OpenSea, and they're multi-million-dollar transactions. But there's so many transactions happening that it was over $5 billion worth of revenue to OpenSea in January. So that's how many transactions are going on. It's just going up. Like, the whole thing is more and more people are coming into the marketplace. So I have a wallet inside of OpenSea that is called MetaMask. I went in, started a MetaMask wallet, and they give you a very lengthy, I think it's 23 character number to identify your wallet. Now, remember earlier I said you can get your name.eth, and I have leerichter.eth. I went and bought leerichter.eth and then renamed my MetaMask wallet to leerichter.eth. So when you go in OpenSea, you can just put in my name and see my stuff.
Okay.
But also if I purchase it or get them, I can also use that as well. So, 32 bits. My team members letting me know it's 32 characters in the wallet address.
Wow.
So rather than having to remember the 32 characters over and over, or typing it wrong, or copy and pasting it wrong, which actually happened to me one time. The letter Y got added to the end of my number, and then all of a sudden it wasn't usable, and I couldn't figure out why. And my team members like, somehow Y got added on there. So once we deleted it, it worked. But if I just knew it was leerichter.eth, it was so much easier.
So now, and if you don't remember that number or that code, whatever it is, you're locked out until you find it. Is that correct?
You can be locked out, and they do give you they do give you a key phrase to get back in, and you never want to share that phrase, and you literally want to put it in lock and key in a safe so that you can access it. We have a thing called Treasure, which is a little thing that holds a lot of our digital assets. And I guess we actually have to update it on a regular basis. That can go in the safe as well, because then you have like a backup of what you own. But you do have to make sure that any key phrases you keep, you do not let anyone else, maybe one person who backs you up, they might have it, or your attorney or your spouse, of course.
So you don't want to put it on like a LastPass or anything digital, or like an old school. Isn't that so interesting? Because this is so ahead of the curve, if you will, and yet you want the old school password.
Want to protect it that no one can come in and hack it on you, because then
they can take it, and then they're you.
We've already learned of people who, I've lost Bitcoin myself because we couldn't identify a wallet. And trust me, I feel it in my heart every time I think about, like, wow, it's just floating out there and I can't access it. And I know it's mine, but it's just a fact of doing business. And you generally only do that one time and you learn a hard lesson and don't do it again, which is why even paying attention to security right now is so important. It's important for your website. One of the things we're doing is up-leveling all of our passwords, our website, everything, looking at what's going on in the world, how much cyber warfare there is part of the reason why people are going decentralized and going into this marketplace. I will caveat this too, to let you know, this is not financial recommendations to anyone. This is you and I talking about what we're doing. We're not recommending to other people. We're just showing a pathway of what we've learned. And what I'm learning is the more and more I learn, the more there is to know, right? The more there is to know. And I'm paying attention to it since 2015, 2016. And it's so hard for me to keep up with the pace of it. And I have a team on it. I even have someone
you were in
to pay attention to. Yeah.
You were in at the infancy for the most part.
No,
right?
I was talking to my friend Brad Hart yesterday, and he started in like 2009, 2010. That was infancy. That was like a whole nother language for them. But for me, 15, 16 was Peter Diamante's in Abundance 360, him bringing out to us because he saw how much was happening. He brought the CEO and founder of Ethereum to us when it was $2.16 per Ethereum. So it was way back in the beginning. However, some people took action and they became multi-millionaires in such a short amount of time. And some people like me who didn't take as much action as I should have are still sitting here going, don't wait, run, get in, because it's still a new field and there's still plenty of money to be made. So I think what it is there's lots to learn. And then if I was looking at my portfolio, it's maybe somewhere around less than 5% right now that I have in crypto. I have it in other things with wealth advisors, but I'm still enjoying it and I want to keep adding to it. I have a tax refund coming for something and I'm like, how much of that can I put in this endeavor right here and make a difference in my team's life? Like one of my team members wants to have a certain amount of nodes earning money, and it's an advanced way of, mining and paying attention to the inside structure of Bitcoin and the blockchain. And as soon as I get it, I'm like, I can't wait. We can go ahead and finish that contract and get the rest of them. However, I don't want to go in debt doing it. What I do want to do is have regular income come in. And then when it does have a small percentage that goes this, but at the same time, I already look back and wish I did more. Right.
Right. Well, so there's still so much money to be made.
There is so much opportunity out there. We can't guarantee there's money to be made.
Okay. Yes, of course.
Even right now, so many things are down. So to me, I'm like, well, it's on sale. We should be doubling down.
That's a buying opportunity.
Yeah. So it matters on people's mindset and their risk behavior and risk reward mentality, because right now I see it as on sale and I just can't get that refund fast enough to get in the market even more right now. So
I think
it'll fluctuate, but I'm in it for the long term.
Right. For the long haul. Okay. So I'll speak for myself. Not that I find it daunting, but what I need to be, a lot of people I talk to need to embrace, it's a new language. Right. So other than
it's a new frontier. And there are different words, like the word fiat. Fiat money means like our US currency to us. It's our current money. How do we turn it into? And what's a wash? And how do you pay gas fees? And there are different things, but ironically, it's almost the same as something else. They just create terminology for this particular network. And gas fees would be when you go to buy an NFT, depending on when you buy it, there's a fee for the people to actually go on the blockchain and register that transaction. So someone's going on your behalf to create the transaction and somebody's verifying it's true. And so you pay that as gas fees. So depending on how much volume is coming in, so they have peak hours, just like electric companies and anything else. If they're having this many people come through, they're going to have higher fees, just like Uber does. It'll have peak hours, right?
Surge pricing.
And that happens in gas fees and NFTs as well. Recently, we sold some NFTs for people to join us at a special dinner in the French Laundry in Napa Valley. And I had 10 of them for sale. It was the private dining room. And some of them paid a lot more gas fees depending on when they got it. So much so it was over $100 for some of them. And then some of them did it different times and it was only $30. So it just depended on when they did it, what the fees are. So you can register it. Now, if you're competing, like when Gary Vee has an auction, or if somebody like Tom Billio or somebody famous has an auction, you don't care about gas fees. You just want to get in there. And the reason it's so high is because everyone's going in. But if it's something like my French Laundry, where you could buy it later and there's only one of one and you're the only one looking at it, then you can wait until later to do it when the gas fees are less.
Right. Okay. So I heard somebody say, and of course you being one of them, when you have really smart people that are ahead of the curve in other things, why would you not? I mean, it's almost like the expression follow the money, right? And I've heard people at Genius Network say, I heard people talking a couple of years about this, and I just put almost as a leap of faith, right? So what do you say about the old school Wall Street? Like I think it was Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase that came, the CEO, that said it's all nonsense or whatever. Is that about they're protecting their turf? Is it ignorance? Like what do you say to people that are like, oh, well, this smart in quotes person said it's gambling, or it's what did somebody say? It's an MLM or something like that. I
know that so many people have different theories, and I do agree. Like it started from nothing and then somehow it created value. And I like anyone look at it and I'm like, why would I care about a screenshot of a ape? Like in the beginning, I was that way. But what I've learned is we attach value to it for different reasons. Our emotional, the novelty, there's only 10,000 in the whole world. They're the first one. So people put different values. Again, what's in the smart contract and what do you get as a bonus? When I look at Tom Billio, he has many bonuses built in. Over the next 30 years, we're going to be getting bonuses. Well, I bought 2 of his legacies because I want to be included not only in what he's doing, but also in learning as he's doing it. Right. So I think that everyone's going to have different reasons and different timing of when to get in. It's going to affect all of us over time. We're going to see contracts going this way. We're going to see no need for middlemen. Like if I'm selling my watch, I can go to a pawn shop right now, but later I could just sell an NFT and whoever gets it, they turn it in and I mail them the watch or they pick it up.
I do think that's the part that makes me feel like this is here and this is here to stay and it's the future. Cutting out the middleman, streamlining the used car salesperson, if you will. Here's my car, here's the buyer, here's the seller, and you make it happen.
Transparent. I mean, yeah, it's already working, but can I share you something, how we're already using NFTs?
Please.
Call it NFTs. You know how you ever buy a ticket to Ticketmaster and they send you an electronic version and it has a little QR code and it says Sunday, 11 p.m. or Sunday, 8 p.m., row 1, seat 1, here's your ticket. That's an NFT. It's a one of one, good for that seat at a specific time. It's access. So really that's an NFT. We just didn't call it an NFT. It's really a ticket, one of a kind, that you get access for whatever it says in the contract. And in that case, it's to see this band or this musical group at this time, this seat, this row specifically. So really, we just didn't call it an NFT, but that's where we're going, but we're already there. We're just adding in more pieces and making it so that in some cases we eliminate fraud. In some cases we eliminate we increase transparency. In some cases, we make it a global audience where before it might have just been our neighborhood. Like even my holistic veterinary hospital, it's more of a global audience when I create NFT campaigns because anyone around the world can participate at the same level. They can convert and get Ethereum and jump in the same as anyone in US or anyone anywhere. So now we have a global audience more so paying attention to our brands because we're in this space. And Patty Ann, you said earlier, it's still early enough. It really is. It's probably less than 1% of people are really in this already. So it's still the very beginning. We get so
you are so excited about it, which gets me excited about it, even though I'm trying to absorb what you're saying as fast as I can. So here's a question I have, which might be so dumb. So will there be crypto attorneys that specialize in crypto contracts?
There already are.
What's that gonna
Oh yeah.
How are they how?
Well, it's interesting you say that because we just did a 5-day challenge on Facebook and we invited a lot of attorneys in there. And even some of the attorneys who were so speculative and they're like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. By the end, a couple of them are starting new companies together and flying to see each other just to establish new ideas in this space. And some of it is, hey, people going through a divorce, now they can put all their assets in NFTs. It's easy to split. No emotion. It's a transaction. Now and it's transparent, right? Like right now I could put my entire inventory in my house as NFTs, even for insurance, that later, if I had to split assets or define assets, or if I die and put it in my will, now it just could be NFT 4, 5, and 6 go to this person. And when they turn it in, they get whatever it is that matches.
That is so interesting. Like the death tax stuff.
It's going to make so many things. It's already evolving. People already see it. The people who get it are already going to market and making differences. Now, how you and I mint an NFT today and create something today will probably be different even in 6 months because so many people are coming in. I think rather than 6 steps to get from beginning to end, it'll probably turn into 3 or 4. There's a company I'm investing in right now called Mobie, M-O-B-I-E. It's just launching and they're making it almost like a PayPal where behind the scenes, it's trading cryptocurrency. It's allowing you to buy NFTs, but you're not having to do it. They're doing it for you. So it's just coming to market. So I can see other companies like that will probably change the way we do it. I love the fact that I know the original way of doing it because forever I'm going to understand this chain of action and give me an edge. Even when I was in the financial markets, I worked as a Series 7 licensed stockbroker in the 80s and 90s.
I didn't know that.
I was with Merrill Lynch in Washington, D.C., and then I was transferred and got a promotion to the Palm Beach office and launched an office there. And I learned a lot about securities that way. And I got my CFP license with them. They put me through training in the Twin Towers. I actually worked in the Twin Towers for 2 years and trained. And what was so beautiful is that in that education, we learned money is a mindset and money is a relationship. And so like we started the beginning of this podcast is we have a relationship. So we get to choose how do we want to show up. What I've learned is with money, I show up in gratitude. Like, thank you for serving me. Now go out in the world and come back to me multiplied. It's something that I say.
That for the listeners, that in a nutshell encapsulates Lee Richter's personality.
Thank you. And I do my best to stay in that. And I'll tell you, real life can get in the way. And the more I stay in that, the more it multiplies. Like today, I had a transaction from 2 years ago that I thought was finished. And today they wrote me, they're like, oh, we have another bonus for you. What's your banking account number? I'm like, oh, I wonder how much bonus I get. And I'm like, oh, what did I just do that I spent? Oh, I know. I spent for my trip to Antarctica. And I'm like, oh, I said, thank you for serving me. Go out in the world and come back to me multiplied. Now, tomorrow, when I find out that amount, or Monday, I will know how much it came back multiplied. And it's interesting how it'll be fluid like that when I pay attention and I'm intentional. If I just go with life and I don't pay attention, it doesn't show up the same. If I don't start in gratitude, it doesn't show up the same. And so I actually have a checks and balance with someone on my team where I'm like, start the day in gratitude. As Lee Brower says in the movie.
Lee Brower, exactly.
Start big, be in gratitude. So I think of him when I do it. I start in gratitude and I notice how different my day is. But I also start in gratitude around prosperity declarations around money. And in it, I'm making room for crypto to come in as well. I'm working with a team member even on our gateway around this, expanding it. Just yesterday, I swear, Patty Ann, just yesterday, I worked with someone that 10 years ago, she and I opened a gateway for something to make more than $20 million. And we put it in place. And then it happened. And then I didn't raise that gateway and I kept hitting, it was actually 25 million. I kept hitting that. And for some reason, it was hard to go past it. And I realized for different projects, and I realized as soon as we raised the gateway, it made a difference. Yesterday, she raised it to $500 million for me for something I'm working on. And I've done multi-billion-dollar things, but they weren't by myself. This one is just Gary and I. And what she did was she made an intention and raise the gateway and frequency to be able to generate that kind of interest in a new company that we're launching. And I'm like, wow, being that intentional to the universe about holding the frequency to do business at that level, to create impact for good. But she literally had to raise the gateway for me to even be congruent with it. Right. Now, part of the reason why I think it could be that big is because of this NFT play. Because of the NFT piece that I get to put in our pet brands, it's going to do the same thing that we were just talking about with OpenSea. It's going to exponentially take off. And we're one of the first ones doing it that it has the opportunity to take off faster than anything we've ever done before. So I had to create the intention, the container, the want to build at that level so that not only could I do it for myself and our team, but we could do it for the impact for good of what we're going to create on the planet. Okay, but it's all intentional.
So let me give the shout out to Lee Brow, because I don't know, I'm sure you remember, I actually first met Lee in person, although anyone that's in the entrepreneurial world knows Lee Richter. So I knew her for years. Nick Sonnenberg, whose conference we were at with Lee Brower, was saying, you have to meet Lee Richter. And that was where I first met Lee. And then we took a selfie and sent it to Cameron Herald. And he was like, oh, my favorite, two of my favorite women. And we realized we knew so many people. It was really, really incredible.
It is like the meshing of all these master brains too, because each one is so brilliant. Like when I look at Cameron
in their own space,
like he inspires me so much. And I actually need to hire 2 number 2s right now, one for the new company. And the first thing I did was go to Cameron and this team and say, who do you have that's ready, that can jump in? And one is a cryptocurrency expert who's overseas that we're interviewing just because of that team. So I love also, what did you do when you did that selfie? Is what we did was deepen our relationship with those people we care about, to let them know that there was another way we were connected. So you as a relationship expert, you see that, you take action. Our friend Joe Polish is brilliant at that. Yeah. But this is a big learning lesson for your audience too. Like that's how they can deepen their connections. And that's how they can also honor some of the people that mentor them or inspire them like we do.
All right. So I'm actually sitting here listening to Lee talk about crypto and NFTs. And there's so many other businesses, as I said, like top 100 business women leaders in the world. And Lee makes the absolute connection to relationships and my work via her work. Like you literally are blowing my mind, which one of many reasons why I adore you. So I want to go back to those. So let's
By the way, it's so natural though, because what happens is it's a fluid circle. Like it's the thing of inclusion. It's the, I see your genius and I want to share it. Right. And so you do that with so many. The thing about the relationship thing is, I think people miss the fact that we have a relationship with money. And I think what happened was my first job at Merrill Lynch when I was 21 and 22, my coach was Lou Holtz, and he was teaching me to eliminate money stories from my patterns of my family. And it could go 8 generations back. He was teaching all 50 of us in a class how to eliminate those patterns and make them better patterns for our future self. So what we did over a 2-year period was not only recognize those patterns, like money doesn't grow on trees and get your head out of the clouds and money's the root of all evil.
Everyone everyone had
different stories, and we put them all in, and then we dispelled them and reversed them and put them into ways that were more empowering. Like with making more money, I can help more people. With making more money, I have freedom of choice. And so now I can add to the value of my community instead of being like needing to take things to meet my demands. Instead, I can be an overflow and share. And so all of those things happened when I was 21. Fast forward, when I was in my 40s, I started seeing the difference between myself and the rest of my family around our thoughts around money. And now I'm like, wow, compounded over those years, I could see rewiring those stories gave me freedom from those stories. I didn't have to carry them into my future. Whereas I could see with my brothers and sisters, when I'd fly home, they had the same stories. Life is hard. Getting money is hard. I can't take time off because I can't afford it. And so then I'm like, I just took 2 weeks off and I'm running multi-million-dollar companies. Somehow I did it. But my mindset was, I can do it because I have freedom of choice. Whereas their mindset was, it's hard. And I wanted to enlighten them, and I still do, but people have to arrive when they're ready. And I'm hoping right now, Patty Ann, you teaching people about relationships, us showing this, maybe will inspire people to go investigate how they can have more empowering money relationships as well. How to develop that is so important.
I hope so too. And I didn't know about your securities background, about Lou Holtz and the money personality. So what some of the work that I do, and I actually just did a talk for Michael and Roz and Jason, a bunch of the financial planners in Genius. I created a what's your money personality talk.
Ooh, I want to see it.
And now, sure, I'll share it with you. And then that's the first half. And I have caricatures like Ebenezer Scrooge and I call it laissez-faire Sally.
Hey, by the way, those are beautiful NFT campaigns right there, just so you know.
Oh, and William the Warrior. Oh my gosh.
Well, you have characters.
And by the way, I'm writing you a check.
Well, not only do you have characters, but you can show them a pathway of turning their character into something that they want to evolve to, right? You could show them the pathway on a scorecard of, here you are, Ebenezer Scrooge. What things can you use to your favor? And then what things can you add to your character that have you have a better future self, or be open to learning more, or open to giving more, so you can take them on a pathway. And through your NFTs, people can honor as they graduate each of those pathways, or they could just own Ebenezer Scrooge and say, that's me. I own it,
Right. So, well, and then at what I do, the second half is then I have them write their money story, like you just said. But then I say, okay, look at it. Now that you have awareness, what do you want to change?
What do you want to take for your best future self? You get to choose.
Right. Exactly.
And, it's funny. I work with a good friend of mine. Her name is Brandy Gilmore, and she's phenomenal. She's in the TLC Transformational Leadership Council with Lee Brower and Lisa Nichols. And they're just all these transformational coaches that help people. And whenever I tell a story that's kind of like boo-hoo me or feel sorry, like whenever I tell any of that, she's like, oh, so how hard are you going to fight for that story? I'm like, why would I fight for that story? It's not making me happier. It's not making me better. You're right. I never need to repeat that story again. What story do I want to fight for? What story do I want to lead with? And so she's helped me release a lot of those stories. And when they come up, which they still do, you can see that they're patterns, and you actually formally have to work on releasing patterns that don't serve you anymore. And
so
our patterns happen when we're 6, right?
Our past influences our future, but we write our future. So I see,
as long as you're aware of it. See, that's
you have to be. It always starts with awareness.
Well, even recently, I noticed a family pattern. Now looking back, I could clearly see it, right? But I didn't see it until she pointed it out. And then when she pointed it out, every time I was like, and this happened, and this happened. She's like, don't fight for that story. Don't keep telling me and reinforcing what you don't want. I'm like, it's so hard. I'm now seeing the evidence, and I just want to be like, you're right. Why didn't I see it? And she's like, yeah, don't fight for that. Just let it doesn't even matter, those stories. Just let them go, create your new story.
Well,
So
and also
that's why
to go to another from the intention and the gratitude. So if you think about it, if you are fighting or owning that story, that is where your energy is going. It's not serving you. So why give it the fuel to drive you if you look at it that way?
So by the way, then you're in that frequency and that stuff shows up over and over and reinforces the story. And she uses the, the battered wife thing, like that. Why do they keep partnering with the next person that hits them again? Is because they keep telling the same story and then they're in that frequency. And while it's horrible and stuff, they need to graduate from that story and be I am free to make better decisions. That it all starts in our head first, right? And so whatever we're saying, it's just going to repeat around us.
And what's interesting is about the relationship with money. And you and I are not the kind of women that are like, oh, women, woe is us, right? That's one of our connections. But many women and men do too, but women tend to not want to get paid what they're worth. They're afraid to charge they don't want to know investments. It's like ignorance is bliss. And they make themselves so vulnerable to men, to the world, to
this next generation is not doing that.
Thank goodness.
They're not. I will say though, it's not just men and women, it's just people in general. It's just some people have a personality where they rather defer it to someone else. Either they're afraid or a history pattern or
we've been told by society money is dirty, which is
it can be. It just depends. Like luckily I don't have that. But here's one of the things that Dan Sullivan says. Dan Sullivan says when he looks at our culture specifically, that there tends to be a subconscious, if not a conscious way where women sometimes will only go to the highest level of the most successful person. It could be man, but sometimes person in their family. So some of us have a built-in ceiling, he says, that says, whoever's the most successful in my family, that's my ceiling. And it's a subconscious thing that can be there. So then they hit up against it and they don't go past it. And actually that's part of the reason why I did that ceremony, raising my ceiling, was to not have limiters in there, but have intentions to be able to raise it on my own for myself. However, it still was a ceremony and it was a 90-minute intention that I worked with someone and did it. And
tell the listeners a little bit more about that. You've spoken to me about it, but they don't know about it. So
well, I mean, I think, again, we have a relationship with money. And sometimes when we are in the jar, we cannot read the label, right? If I'm inside this cup, I cannot see what it says clearly. And so sometimes you just need a guide, someone like you, Patty Ann, somebody that we trust that can be like, hey, here's what I see on the outside of the label. Now, what do you want your label to actually say? We get to choose. I think that's the piece is some of us think, well, the label says that and we have to live with it. No. We get to make the label. And so I do some prosperity declarations every day. If you want, I'll send it to you and you can put a link in the show notes. And it starts with, I deserve to be healthy, wealthy, and happy. Wealth comes to me easily. My money bucket is expanding daily. Part of all I earn is mine to keep. My income increases every day, whether I'm working, sleeping, or playing. All my investments are profitable. Money comes to me in unexpected ways for the good of all concerned. I'm always in the right place at the right time. And I love my life. And so I do those every day. I do them in the shower. I do
obviously because you just said it. Yeah.
I actually had some friends in Maui recently, a whole bunch of high-level doctors. I brought them in the forest and we recited it together. And by the second and third time, people were like, oh my God, my cells feel different. And it's just integrating what we really want and being the author of what we really want. And the more I tell myself these things, the more it proves to be true. And so people like you're like, wow, you're the epitome of abundance. Well, abundance in relationships, because that's important to me. Abundance in money, in time. Sometimes people ask me, how do you have 25 hours in a day when everyone else has 24? I'm like, well, I can make a lot happen in a day. And some of it is my team I can leverage. Some of it is just being clear with my plan of what I want to accomplish.
You're very intentional too.
Which is why when someone cancels on me, I'm like, you have no idea how hard it was to get that in my calendar. Once it's in, I honor it. Once it's canceled, like it might be 6 months before I can see that person again. And I've had a few people, actually somebody recently has been trying to get in front of me for 3 or 4 weeks and we haven't been able to find a moment in time. And I'm like, okay, Saturday, we're doing it. Before I go to Antarctica, we're doing it. But it's because I'm so respectful and I have to protect the boundaries of time, right? And myself and others. And then
it's so interesting you said that, Lee. It's so interesting you said that because I texted Lee before the call because I knew Lee was going to Antarctica. And I'm like, I want to make sure she's still available, because if she wasn't, I would totally understand. And sure enough, Lee got back to me. I'm good to go. I got the link. And here she is.
And on top of it, you're like, can you come earlier? I'm like, I'm kind of timed out. I mean, literally I had,
if you wanted. Yeah.
I love it because you gave me the opportunity to be flexible and use my time wisely. And I think that's so respectful, because it might've been easier for me to hop on an earlier time just to be more free this afternoon, but it worked out great. I'm glad I had it in my schedule. I'm glad you and I get to have girl talk on a Friday afternoon.
Oh my God. This is so, and I'm on the East Coast. So it's almost 5 o'clock, and you're on the West Coast. So it's close enough to happy hour. What do you see with people that come to you with all things, right? Not just money. What is the biggest limiting belief people have?
Well, you know that if you think you can, and if you think you can't, you're right. It really
mindset.
It's just, everything starts with mindset. Anytime we do a course, anytime we do a challenge, anytime we do anything, we start with mindset. We start in gratitude, because then it turns mindset into a positive, forward thinking way. It's really just the basis of to be in a forward thinking. And how do we create our best life? I mean, I had a near fatal car accident 20 years ago, and that was a defining moment for me, that every moment matters. I only had a 7% chance of living. And trust me, once I lived and I was walking again, every day is so special. It really is. And so I'm very mindful of being in gratitude, being around the people I love, really just choosing what I want to do and sticking with it. I very rarely do what I don't want to do. And when I do it, I kind of get a little cranky. So I try not to do it again. Okay, maybe a lot cranky sometimes, but I will say asking people to help me and putting genius in them and trust in them is one of my biggest ways of having more freedom in my life, is really asking for help from other people where it's their joy and it doesn't feel like a hardship. It feels like they're adding value as well. We just hired somebody.
Is that how you decide who to share your genius with? Because everybody wants a piece of you when they know you.
Thank you.
How do you decide?
Everyone gets a mentor moment no matter what. Like I could share something in just 2 or 3 sentences that can change their life. I've had a lot of people come back and say, oh, that one thing you said to me changed my life, and here's why. I've had people say it 6 months later, a year later, that I didn't even know they heard me. Some of the people I actually have noticed recently, some of them have put it up on my LinkedIn, because one of my coaches said, when someone tells you you changed your life, tell them to put it on LinkedIn so it reminds you later, right? So every once in a while, I'll go read my LinkedIn messages and remember, like, oh yeah, that moment had an impact on that person. And it's just a few moments. Sometimes it's 2 hours from midnight till 2 a.m. because somebody's coming for help at a conference, and we just get into it. And I know it's making an impact, and I know they're going to multiply it. But then that's all they needed was that 2 hours to get them in the right direction. So I don't know. I love sharing. I think my friend Brian Kurtz said, the reason he loves me is I go into a room not needing anything. I go in as a giver. And I think me as a giver is my favorite part. I do need support and love and friendship though. And I love being open for that. And people like you in my life that, spark sunshine and make me happy. I have room for that all the time. That's why if you text me, I'm going to respond. Right. And the same with Nick Sonnenberg. There's not a time he hasn't texted me that I haven't responded within 5 minutes, because he's so important to me. I always want to be connected. So I make room for those people who love me. I look on here. I'm like, look, Jim Dew, Randy Garn, and Howard Getson. They're 3 people I love. I just want to reach out and say, thinking of you.
So hang on a second, Lee, before you run right by, because I want to share something. You mentioned Nick Sonnenberg. I want the listeners to hear a story about Lee, in case you think I'm just saying stuff, just to speak. Although if you've been listening to me, I only speak truth. Nick was in a really difficult business partnership that was dissolving. And I was working with Nick at the time over the uncoupling, if you will. And it was nasty. It was unnecessarily nasty. And most other people would have thrown in the towel, but Nick didn't. And that tells you Nick's character. What Nick told me was, you have to meet Lee, because Lee was one of the people that, I hope I can share this, Lee, that not only verbally supported him, but wrote the check, financially paid Nick in advance. Nick didn't ask. Nick was, I think he was in tears when he shared that with me. He was the man was working 25 hours a day at that moment to keep his business afloat, which is today still afloat, called Leverage. So let's give Nick a shout out.
Oh,
right?
it's so successful. The thing is, I see
Oh my
him
gosh.
with such huge talent, and he just happened to be in a place where the circumstances put him in a disadvantage. And that check, all it did was give an even playing field that he can move on. And it immediately gave him freedom to move on and make a genius move, which was launch a new company where he could use his genius and be free. And so I was really happy to be part of that.
He took that money to pay his people. That's what he did, right? It wasn't for himself. So you gave it out of gratitude. He was so grateful. He paid it forward. And these are the people that Lee attracts into her life, because who wouldn't? Like, I know
he's extreme talent. I mean, like, the thing is,
and you never told me that. He told me that. You never told me that.
Somebody's in extreme, like, they're just
stress.
So brilliant. Like Jim Du, Randy Garn, and Howard Getson, who I wrote here that I want to make sure I say hi to this week. All three of them, to me, they're so brilliant. I just want to support them as brilliant geniuses in the world. Like, I see them, right? They see me too, which I love. But that's how I see Nick Sonnenberg. I saw from the beginning, number one, he went to UC Berkeley. He got his master's in engineering. He is so smart. He's very much a minority going through that group. But he shares it at such a high level. Now, he has inspired my team to be even higher excellence. And my team, I took one of my team members to dinner just 2 nights ago for a special, it was our 14-year anniversary. And one of the things she thanked me for was her relationship with Nick Sonnenberg, because he teaches her systems, which she loves. And then she in turn is more successful and can rely on the system. So it's a symbiotic relationship. See, Nick has come here on site to help my team because of that initial investment in him. He will always remember that I was there, but I will always remember his genius and want to put it to work. And since I have access to it, it's a symbiotic, beautiful relationship.
It's great.
By the way, can I tell you one last thing about him that I absolutely want to acknowledge? And it is kind of a little love fest, and he did bring us together originally. But last 3 years, my daughter was, preparing to get into college. She's a senior right now, but in her sophomore year, she was starting. Do you know, Nick called his college professor, who was also the admissions officer for the master's program at UC Berkeley, and asked her if she would be an advisor to my daughter. Now, my daughter had her for the last 3 years. And this year, not only did she help her with every application, she edited, helped her with everything. Number one, I didn't even have to read it, because I heard so many moms fighting with their daughters over their college applications. I'm like, I'd rather her have an expert and me stay out of it and just support her. So by doing that, my daughter and I had a much better relationship. We didn't fight over any of her essays, but that person not only helped her on a regular basis, even weekends, but guess what? She got in her first choice in college, and it's been 6% admissions rate for advanced admissions. Because she got in her first choice early admission, she's free right now. She's not stressing over where she's going to school. And I'm watching her friends stressing because they haven't figured it out yet. And I'm like, thank you, Nick Sonnenberg, for giving me a mentor for Abby that not only was exceptional and not only is open to us celebrating her, but because of Nick, she paid attention to Abby at the highest level. And I couldn't be more grateful, because there's nothing else more special to me than her
child.
And who knew Nick Sonnenberg was going to be that kind of ally for me, but was one.
And you know what Nick would say if I said something to him? He'd be like, "Oh, I just made a phone call." Like,
I know. Oh, he didn't make one. He made like 3 phone calls to me to make sure I followed up on it. He babysat the whole thing to make sure Abby got in there and did it. And I will tell you, it took Abby 6 months to say yes, because she was kind of scared. And in the beginning, she wasn't 100%. But in the end, she's like, thank God I had Linda. Linda made it all possible for her to be confident in what she did. By the way, last night, she got an acceptance to another school while we were sitting at dinner. And she's like, oh, yeah, another one. Because she's in the one she wants. Now it's not a big deal. It's just something to celebrate. But I'm grateful for Nick, because he not only made the recommendation, he followed through and made sure I took action.
Yeah, which is great. All right. So your daughter's going on to college. So that opens up. I remember when my youngest went away to college, it opens up what is next for you?
Well, this is, what's so fun about the NFT stuff is that it's something she and I can do together, because it's a global economy, and her age group is like the early adopters are the smart ones, right? Mm-hmm. So the more I'm involved in it, the more she and I can have communications. She can be involved in it. And no matter where she is in the world, we'll be connected through our digital
Right.
assets and our digital life together. So I'm
That's
excited
cool.
about sharing it with her. I'm surprised I'm teaching her about it now, but I have a feeling in about, 6 or 8 months, she'll be teaching me a thing or two.
Exactly. All right. So 2 questions for you. One is, what is the one most important thing you've learned in life that you want people to know?
It all starts between your ears. Whatever you think, is going to dictate your day. If you wake up thinking, oh my God, it's a great day, I'm so excited to have the day ahead of me, it's going to be different than I'm so tired and I don't really feel like doing anything. And you get to set your mindset. And so every day that I was in the hospital, it was almost a year I could not walk. And I am such an active person. And every day I had to trick my brain into being happy with what I was doing. And I learned, it really does start inside. And if I was mad that the nurse was late, then it started our day one way. And if I was happy that she was there at all, it started our day another way. And
in the game,
the more I was in gratitude, the more they were nicer to me and I got what I wanted. And I had a better life. So, in recovery, it's not easy at all, but my mindset could have either killed me or kept me alive. And that's how it really came down to that. And they did assign a trauma therapist to me who said, thank God for your mindset or you would have died. And he attributed that. And he's like, he used to come to see me every single day. By the 3rd week, we were talking about animals and stuff, not my healthcare, because I was on the right path. You didn't have to fix it. Right.
Right.
But it starts in our head. It really does.
Great. Awesome. All right. And my last question, what's the last book that you reread and why?
I reread Traction recently because Gino is in one of my masterminds and he released 2 more books since then. So it encouraged me to go back and read the basics. And then I'm always reading things. I'm looking over here. I actually took out Becoming by Michelle Obama the other day because I was in another podcast and we were talking about what we are becoming. So I picked that up and reread some of the chapters there to be reminded of where she was, because I think her writing is brilliant. And so I pick up a lot of books and just read what I need to at the moment. I don't have to read cover to cover. Sometimes I go through the contents and just say, oh, this chapter, or let me do that one. But I love to read. I have thousands of books. Thousands.
I know. That's why I was asking. I have been finding there's so much information. It's almost overwhelming. There's so many books I want to read. There's so many podcasts I want to listen to. There's Netflix series to binge. I mean, there's just so much to consume.
But you can only start with one at a time.
How do you pick? How do you choose?
Well, sometimes I might be in a meeting and somebody brings it up and I'll just put it on my Amazon. And when it comes, I'll go through it. Again, I don't have to read the whole thing. I'll read the table of contents. I've learned in journalism, basically, if you read the first paragraph and the last paragraph, you get a lot of summary. I love the ones that have the summary in the back of each chapter. I will read all of those. And I like hardcover books. So I just physically take them out and look at them. A lot of the books that I have, my friends are the personal authors of it. So I want to read it even just to be inspired by their words or hear what they're thinking, or even to let them know how, I'm rereading it or seeing it again. Cameron Harold, who is one of our friends, we got in Mentor Box with one of his books called Vivid Vision. And so I've read that so many times. Yesterday, I recommended Bold by Peter Diamandis because this is one of the books that really changes a lot of lives, people that are in, and I love that Peter signed it for me.
He's
but
brilliant.
A lot of my friends that are in technology and SaaS models, they get a lot of information from this. So I recommended that to someone the other day. And sometimes it's just to be refreshed and inspired in the way I'm thinking today, right?
Right.
So it just comes to us because we need it right now. So.
Right. It's so true. Like if you read something today versus you read something a year ago, 2 weeks ago, depending upon where you are in your mind, you get something different out of it, which is really, really amazing. Amazing. Yep. So Lee, how can people find out more about you?
Where'd you like to send them? The website, goasklee.com. That's the best place to go. That's my central hub. And in there, you'll find NFTs. You'll find my social media, different things there. You're right. I love being an entrepreneur. I have a PR and marketing focus. And that's why I see NFTs as something really interesting, because as a PR and marketing expert, I see how NFTs help enhance my client experience, my team experience, and even my experience. So part of why I'm inspired right now, as including NFTs, is I'm going in every one of the brands that I work with and thought leaders I work with and seeing what would an NFT do in the business and the client experience right now? And so that's what we're getting started with. So thank you for letting me share this. It's been so fun. I love it.
Oh my God, Lee, this has been amazing. Like I want to get off of this, and I'm going to go back onto your website, go back onto your Instagram, because I've been following it, but I need to process it. I want to learn everything. And then I'm sending you a check because
you don't have to learn everything. You just have to learn with the first step and the
open a wallet.
Okay. So I'm going to share one thing before we go.
Sure.
I share with people that there's the main reasons why people get into NFTs are number one, for you personally, number two, for your business, and number three, for your community. Okay. Now in your business is you and your customers, though, how it affects each, right? So someone like JJ Virgin, she has herself, but she also has all the doctors that follow her who are clients and customers. Sure. So how it affects her in both. But there's three arenas, right? Personal, business, and your community. What I recommend is you start personally and you go after, there's two sides personally. Number one, as a collector, like you find somebody's NFT and you actually purchase it and put it in your wallet. That's as a collector. The second one would be as a creator, how you make one, mint it, and actually put it out there either for sale or for collection, even as a bonus. So I recommend to you, I have an NFT course. It's goasklee.com/NFT. In that course, you will learn all the things you need to learn from opening a wallet and all those different pieces. What I would do for you, Patty Ann, is this. What I've done for a few other global leaders that I love is you text me your favorite picture. What I will do is turn it into an NFT. I'll put it out on OpenSea.
A picture of anything?
Well, I think it should be like maybe your wedding picture or a family picture, something that means a lot to you.
Okay, I had a picture.
I've had a few of my friends send me their wedding picture because when I minted and put it on OpenSea for them to purchase, what they did was they learned how to do that. Number one, they learned how to open a wallet, purchase it. But now their very first NFT they ever had is their wedding picture. So to them, it's cool. They then went to their wife or their husband and said, look, our first NFT is us. And so I actually did it for a friend of mine, Chad. He did his whole family picture today. Anna David, I did one of her with her book. And so what I recommend is you do that first. Send me a picture. I'll mint it. You can go purchase it. That'll be your first NFT forever.
Okay.
Right? Once you purchase it, then you'll know the experience of what it's like to open your wallet. Number one, you're going to open OpenSea and buy Ethereum. Number two, you're going to move it to a MetaMask wallet so that it's in there. Number three, you're going to go to OpenSea. I will give you a link where you can purchase your NFT once we mint it. And then boom, once you do that, you'll have your first purchase.
Oh my gosh, this is exciting. I can't wait. And
you can send me anything. You can send me whatever one of your favorite pictures is.
I have a picture. So when my kids were born, we had custom football jerseys made up with the year that they were born put on them.
I love it.
My oldest are twins. And so it's 19. All right, I'm going to date myself. I had my first child at 12 years old, if anybody's doing the math. So it was
early adopter.
Thank you. 1987. And then my third son was 89 and my daughter was 93. And every year at Thanksgiving, we've taken a family picture. So first they were babies and it, looked like a gown. And as they've grown into it, it's like a football jersey. So it's cool. It's very special to us.
I love it. Well, send me that. And by the way, how many children do you have?
4.
So we could make 5 of them, different colors, different backgrounds, and you give one to each of the kids. So it's their first one too.
Oh, that's cool too.
We'll start with one for you, but then we'll talk about, once we do one and you're a collector, then we'll teach you how to do the other 4 where you're a creator.
I also want to do the money personality. And I also have 5 emotional intelligence personalities I've created.
Wow. See, all of those can be turned into NFT experiences and you'll own the rights to it and you'll be able to share it with other people where they can, adopt your methodology as well. So when I talk about NFTs, the reasons to mint NFTs, one is authenticity. We talked about earlier, proving something is yours, like your car, your house, whatever, with the deed, even your graduate certificate from college can be the authenticity. One is access. Another one is licensing. So if you have a program and then you license to other people, once they go through the program, you can issue an NFT saying they're licensed to use that. So now it's proof for them that they're licensed, but also it's a badge of honor for them that they've gone through the course and they are licensed. And then another one is that fractional ownership that we talked about earlier.
Right.
Which it could be real estate, it could be a course, it could be access like Front Row for Gary Vee, whatever. If you're thinking about it that way, me and Maui, if I have, 4 months, but I can only go 3, I could split up the other one into NFTs and whoever buys it has access to my place. So you can think of it that way as well.
And so many great things to think about. So Lee, I could go on and on, but I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you so much. And that concludes. Was I right? Did this woman take us for a ride or what? And that concludes today's podcast episode of The Trust Doctor, Restoring Trust and Enriching Significant Relationships with our guest, Lee Richter. And I will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Once again, we've concluded another great episode of The Trust Doctor with Dr. Patty Ann. Tune in next week for more insights and advice on how you can create, nurture, and sustain healthy relationships. To find out more about the podcast, visit drpattyann.com/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Until next time.